Hey, this is the Entertainment Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is the problem with Oscar Award nominated movies. So for this video, I'm going to discuss the problem with movies such as No Country for Old Men, Wall-E, The Hurt Locker, all that type of stuff, okay? In a simple and straightforward way so anyone can understand it, so we can of course improve the craft of movies as much as possible, okay? So now I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the problem with Oscar Award nominated movies, the simple truth of the matter when it comes to the problem with them, which in other words, aka is code word for movies made by very intelligent people, is that they tend to do what a lot of intelligent people tend to do, is they focus more on intelligence instead of storylines. So in short, the movies are boring because the person who made a movie is just focusing on making a movie just as complex as possible instead of actually trying to focus on the quality of the story, okay? Whether it can be things like the plot, itself is just extraordinarily complex to the point it's just absolutely ridiculous, to things like maybe trying to put a lot of hidden messages and of course, criticisms of capitalism. Ooh, we're breaking boundaries here, like things like that, and all that type of stuff, or just even straight up down to just having aimlessly long dialogue sequences where it gets really boring and you can barely hear what they're even saying. Like stuff like that, okay? That is exactly what I am talking about when it comes to fucking, movies made by very intelligent people, okay? Is that they just tend to be really boring. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to movies that are made by very intelligent people, okay? And I'm not, of course, denying their intelligence, because I know, they're very intelligent people, like no shit, that's something to be proud of, for that matter, to be fair. But the thing is, when people watch a movie, they want to watch a movie because it's very interesting to watch, okay? Like everything from the plot itself to even how the balance between a story and action scenes are things that people want to look for when they're watching a movie for entertainment, okay? And that is the honest truth. Not just watching a movie that's just meant to just be as complex aimlessly as possible just to prove how intelligent they are, so they can get an Oscar award and be critically acclaimed by critics and so on and so forth. But when you watch it, to be honest with you, even if you're a very intelligent person like myself, of course, let's not forget that, I still look at it and I'm like, this is kind of boring, in all honesty. To be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? Like this is boring. Like, yes, it's intelligent, it's well written, like the plot is very complex and stuff, and it gives you a lot to think about. But the thing is, the story itself is not even that interesting, and the plot, aside from the plot, more like, like just the story itself, like when they're filming the movie, it's just aimlessly boring, too much character development. Like they have like an hour before they have like an action sequence, and it just gets really boring. And that is the honest truth of the matter I'm trying to get at here. Because intelligent people who make very critically acclaimed movies, or just straight up down to intelligent people when they make movies, it's just boring. It's just always usually boring. Because it's just more just to prove how intelligent I am instead of focusing on the actual good quality of the craft, which is putting actual effort into coming up with an interesting storyline, as interesting as possible, so people are going to be more likely to be drawn by it. Because to be honest with you, even though, I know people disagree on everything, people will agree on this, people agree on that, and so on and so forth. I have to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? Let's try to be honest here with ourselves, okay? Even though we, as human beings, we know human beings will agree on everything, okay? I'm just gonna be upfront with you though, okay? Look at all the types of movies that highly intelligent people make, okay? You can even Google it yourself, okay? Whether it could be movies that win Oscar awards, or even just put in movies that are actually written by high IQ people. Every single one of them look at the plots of them, the plot of the story itself. Do any of those plots actually seem interesting to you? You know, or at least as interesting as the so-called ignorant movies made for the masses that you see consistently, of course, being produced. And of course, no shit, of course, the mainstream movie theaters, according to them, you know, made for a brain dead audience, you know, all that type of stuff, okay? And that's what I'm trying to get at here. Like, if you want movies to actually be you know, liked by people, you know, you have to actually focus on making a plot that is actually interesting. Like, for example, I'm going to give you a precise example. You know, one of the types of movies people are interested in is obviously movies that have a great adventure, because most people's lives, if keep it real, are pretty boring, you know, for that matter. So we want something that has an interesting, like, sense of adventure it gives off, okay? Whether it could be something about space travel, or maybe it could take place maybe in like a dystopian world or something run by a one world government, or of course, let's not forget, of course, maybe it takes place in a past world like ancient history or something, whether it's based on actual real historical groups that existed, you know, like the medieval knights of Europe, you know, the Chinese warriors of the Three Kingdoms period, or even of course the samurai of feudal Japan, you know, stuff like that. Or it could be a made up group of people, you know, that you completely made up, like for some mythical fantasy setting or something, whatever, you know, doesn't matter. To be honest with you know, like all of those three main categories, whether it takes place in the future or more present tense, like dystopian world or something run by a dictator, or in the past tense, like life before technology, whatever. Those are subjects you want to focus on when you try to get people interested, like major interesting storylines to get people actually interested in what you want to look at, instead of just, oh, I'm just gonna make a movie about maybe some person who is on the verge of dying, you know, and maybe some caretaker saves him, you know, from just giving up on life by visiting him and talking to him, and it gives a very good perspective of life and blah 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 blah. Or it could be maybe some story about a hitman assassin or something who's on a mission to take someone out, you know, or something. And it's like, yes, okay, I guess it's a well-written story, to be fair with you, but it's actually like really boring to watch it. Like, they just make it way too realistic. The action scenes are far and few in between, and it's just boring to well watch. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. To be quite blunt and honest with you, these movies made by so-called very highly intelligent people tend to usually just be boring. The plot itself, which is the foundation of what makes people actually want to watch a movie, is not taken into consideration that can be made as interesting as possible. They just focus on just movies that are just always meant to be, you know, just as extremely complex when it comes to the plot as possible, and like the most boringest storylines you can imagine that are just aimlessly, unnecessarily, according to them, realistic. And it's just like, it's kind of getting kind of old now, and it's just boring. Like, who fucking cares? What I want to watch when I want to watch a movie is something that's entertaining. And yes, you can make a movie that's entertaining and actually very intelligent as well, but they don't do that. It's just either, you know, it's either you want to watch a movie that's aimlessly complex but boring just for me to get it, just to prove how smart I am, or if you want to make a movie that's interesting, you're just making something for the brain dead masses. And it's really boring, corny, and cliche and outdated at this point. You can balance both, and that's the honest truth here, okay? And that's a problem with movies made by intelligent people, is that they just tend to be very boring, and that is my honest opinion. So now that I explained my point here, that is the point of my video. You know, I hope you found it enjoyable, and the lesson that there is to learn from this video is focus more on plot, you know, and how interesting the story is in general, instead of just focusing on how complex you can make a storyline. okay? So if you're anyone who's watching this video who's maybe an aspiring filmmaker or whatnot, or maybe someone who supports a filmmaker, so you give them recommendations, just keep this information in mind so we can help make the quality of movies better, okay? Because this is a basic trend that's been going on for too long. It's really boring, it's really tiresome, it's really annoying at this point even. You know, the truth of the matter is, you know, if you are, is that when you make a movie, you make it to be interesting, not just to flex how smart I am. And that is the honest truth here. And I know a lot of intelligent people are very guilty of it. So the lesson of this video is that if you want to make a movie that's good, make a movie that's focused on actually the quality of the idea of the story, not just how aimlessly complex if you want to make a good movie, okay? And that is my opinion because I see this happen all the time, and that is something that's become annoying, and I'm speaking the truth. So anyway, that's all I have to say, and some people I'm out. So bye.